Here's something wild. Your body can survive freezing temperatures for hours, but just a few minutes of extreme heat can shut it down completely. That's how dangerous heat stroke is. Welcome back to Reem Healthcast. Today, we're talking about heat stroke, or hyperthermia. So, what is hyperthermia?
Hyperthermia is a condition in which the body's core temperature rises above the normal range, around 37 degrees Celsius or 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. When the body temperature exceeds 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, it becomes a medical emergency.
It really puts into perspective how fragile our bodies are when it comes to heat. So, what exactly happens during heat stroke that makes it so dangerous?
Well, it's all about your body's ability, or inability, to regulate its internal temperature. Normally, your body cools itself through sweating and other mechanisms, but when it's overwhelmed by heat, that system fails. Your core temperature can skyrocket past 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's when things get critical. And it's not just about feeling hot or uncomfortable. This is a full-blown medical emergency. Heat stroke can cause confusion, unconsciousness, and even organ failure. It's not just your skin that's overheating. It's your brain, your heart, your kidneys. Everything starts to break down.
That's terrifying. And I imagine it's even more of a concern in places like the UAE, where summer temperatures can be brutal.
Absolutely. In regions like the UAE, where the heat can be relentless, the risk of heat stroke is significantly higher. But it's not just about being outdoors. Poorly ventilated indoor spaces, high humidity, and lack of air conditioning can also create dangerous conditions.
So, who's most at risk for heat stroke in these extreme climates?
While anyone can be affected, certain groups are especially vulnerable. Elderly individuals and young children are at the top of the list because their bodies aren't as efficient at regulating temperature. Outdoor workers, like construction workers or delivery drivers, are also at high risk since they're exposed to the heat for long periods.
And I imagine athletes training outdoors would be another group to watch out for, especially if they're not staying hydrated or taking breaks.
Exactly. People with chronic conditions like heart disease or diabetes are also more susceptible. And let's not forget tourists or expats who aren't acclimated to the region's extreme heat. It's easy to underestimate how quickly the heat can affect you when you're not used to it. Even staying indoors isn't always a guarantee of safety. If your home isn't properly ventilated or air conditioned, you could still be at risk. Recognizing the early symptoms of heat-related illnesses is crucial. It can mean the difference between a quick recovery and a life-threatening situation.
So, what are the early warning signs people should be looking out for?
Symptoms usually appear in stages. First, you might experience heat cramps. Those are muscle spasms in your legs, arms, or abdomen. Then comes heat exhaustion, where you're sweating heavily, feeling weak, maybe nauseous or dizzy. If it progresses to heat stroke, that's when things get really critical. And with heat stroke, you're looking at symptoms like confusion, dry skin, a rapid heartbeat, and potentially loss of consciousness. Losing consciousness is a clear sign that the brain is no longer functioning properly due to extreme internal heat. It's a medical emergency that requires immediate action. And if it's not treated, the consequences can be devastating. We're talking brain damage, organ failure, even death in severe cases. Exactly. That's why it's so important to act quickly if you suspect someone is experiencing heat stroke. The first step is to call emergency services immediately.
And what should you do while waiting for help to arrive?
Move the person to a cool, shaded, or air-conditioned place. Start active cooling by removing excess clothing, applying cold packs to areas like the neck, armpits, and groin, and dousing them with cool, not ice-cold water. You can also use a fan to circulate air, but you should avoid giving them fluids if they're unconscious. That could lead to choking.
Exactly. And speaking of ice-cold water, let's address why that's not a good idea, especially if the person has lost consciousness.
You'd think ice-cold water would help cool them down quickly, but it can actually be harmful. It can cause the blood vessels to constrict suddenly, which traps heat inside the body instead of releasing it. And it can send the body into shock or even lead to hypothermia if you overdo it. And for someone already experiencing cardiovascular strain from heat stroke, the sudden temperature drop can stress the heart even further. Plus, ice cold water can cause shivering, which actually generates more heat. It's counterproductive. The goal is to cool the body gradually and safely, not shock it. That's why cool water or wet cloths are recommended instead of ice cold treatments.
So, how is heat stroke diagnosed once you get to the hospital?
Doctors will do a physical examination and measure your body temperature. They might also run blood tests to check organ function, electrolyte levels, and dehydration. In cases of suspected malignant hyperthermia, they might do a muscle biopsy or genetic testing.
And what about treatment? What happens once you're diagnosed?
Immediate treatment focuses on lowering the body temperature and preventing organ damage. This can include IV fluids for rehydration, cooling blankets, or ice packs. In some cases, they might use medication to control seizures or muscle spasms and oxygen therapy if needed. It's reassuring to know that with prompt treatment, most people recover fully. But severe cases might require longer recovery times or even physical therapy. And the best way to deal with heat stroke is to prevent it in the first place, especially in a hot climate like the UAE's. Simple steps like staying hydrated, wearing loose, light clothing, and avoiding peak sun hours can make a huge difference. And don't forget sun protection. Hats, sunglasses, and sunscreen are your best friends. If you have to be outdoors, take frequent breaks in the shade and carry water with you.
Prevention really is key. Hyperthermia is a serious condition that demands awareness and quick action. By understanding the symptoms, causes, and prevention strategies, you can protect yourself and those around you.
And if you or someone near you shows signs of heat stroke, don't wait. Seek medical care immediately. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. Stay safe out there, especially during those scorching summer months. And with that, we've covered everything you need to know about heat stroke. Hopefully, this helps demystify the topic a bit. A big thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll continue bringing you practical, easy-to-understand health topics. Until then, take care and stay healthy.